My name is Lindsay Peavy. I'm 31 years old, and this is the story of how my sister uninvited me from her wedding with a 5-word text, and how that message ended up changing everything for our entire family. It happened on a random Thursday. I wasn't even thinking about her. I'd just finished a long day at work and wandered into Target to clear my head. You know that kind of evening. Quiet, mindless, comforting. I had a basket with a few candles and protein bars, half-heartedly browsing the aisles, when my phone buzzed. It was the family group chat we'd made for the wedding. Peavy Wedding Crew. I expected some question about table decorations or menu choices. Instead, I saw 5 words that didn't make sense at first. You're not invited. Goodbye, loser. I froze. It was from my sister Amanda. Right below it, my mom, Linda, reacted with a heart emoji. No explanation, no follow-up. Just a little red heart, like a seal of approval on cruelty. I stood there in the middle of the snack aisle, rereading it over and over again while strangers passed by, unaware that my entire sense of family had just cracked in half. I waited for someone to say it was a joke, for my dad to step in, for Amanda to claim she'd been hacked. But the chat went silent. That silence said everything. I set my basket down on the nearest shelf and walked out of the store without buying a thing. The night air hit me like cold water. My fingers were trembling, but not from shock, from restraint, because I already knew what this was really about. They didn't just cut me out of a wedding. They cut me out of a system they thought they controlled. Amanda's wedding had been practically my full-time job for 6 months. The venue? My credit card. The dress deposit? Mine. The florist, calligraphy invitations, cake samples, even the rehearsal dinner tasting, all organized and paid for by me. Amanda always said she'd pay me back after the gifts started rolling in. My parents said they'd help when they could. They never did. I didn't mind at first. I was the responsible one, the single daughter with a stable job and no kids, the one who didn't need help. That's how they justified it. And like an idiot, I told myself it was love, that helping them meant I was part of something. But standing in the Target parking lot that night, staring at that text, it hit me. It wasn't love. It was convenience. I didn't reply that night. I wanted to see what they'd do next. By the next morning, the group chat was buzzing again, as if nothing had happened. Amanda posted a TikTok of a laughing bride with the caption, "When drama tries to ruin your big day." My mom replied, "So true, all love." My dad added, "Finally, no drama this time." I stared at those messages until my eyes stung. That's when I knew. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate. They wanted me gone. They wanted my money, not my presence. They forgot, though. I was the one paying for all of it. So I opened the chat again. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady, and I typed, "Perfect. Then I'll remove my payments from the account." Just one sentence. Calm. Final. The kind of message you send when you've stopped asking for permission. The typing bubbles appeared instantly. Amanda. LMAO, okay, sure. Mom. Don't be dramatic, sweetie. We'll handle it. Dad. A thumbs up. That's how my father responded to his daughter being exiled from her sister's wedding. I didn't reply. I just watched them laugh, not realizing that by the time they woke up tomorrow, their perfect wedding would no longer exist. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my couch surrounded by invoices, contracts, and printed receipts I'd kept in a labeled folder, Amanda Wedding Expenses. I used to joke that I was her unpaid planner. Now, those receipts felt like power. Proof. Every dollar, every booking, every signature, my name. I started making calls, one by one. The venue? Canceled. The deposit was under my name. The florist? Easy. They dropped the order once I showed proof of payment. The caterer hesitated until they checked the contract. My signature, my card, gone. Even the dress boutique, where Amanda had already gone for fittings, agreed to freeze everything when I reminded them who paid the deposit. By 11 a.m. the next morning, the entire wedding had collapsed. At 12:22 p.m., Amanda finally texted me. "What did you do?" I didn't answer. Then came the storm. Texts from all sides. Mom. "You're ruining your sister's life." Amanda. "You're unstable. You need serious help." Dad. "This is exactly why we didn't want you involved." 18 messages in 10 minutes. Each one louder, meaner, more desperate. And then Amanda sent one last text. "You have 1 hour to fix this, or I'll tell everyone what you did to Ryan." I actually laughed, out loud, alone in my apartment, because that was her last card. a bluff, a pathetic, baseless threat, and she knew it. That night, I opened a bottle of wine, put on some music, and watched the chaos unfold from a distance. They thought they could erase me. They thought I'd beg to be let back in. They didn't realize I'd already reached the end of what I was willing to tolerate. They wanted a wedding without me. Fine. Let's see how far they'd get without my money. The sun came up like nothing had happened. The city hummed its usual Friday rhythm. Trash trucks groaning, a dog yelping at a scooter, neighbors clinking mugs, and for a second I felt foolish for expecting the sky to look different after a small apocalypse. But my apocalypse had a clock on it. I'd written the dates and vendor contacts on a yellow legal pad the night before and slid it under my phone like a launch key. I brewed coffee I didn't taste and opened the folder. Amanda wedding. Expenses. Tabs inside. Venue. Florist. Caterer. Invitations. Dress. Rings. Cleaning. Transportation. Rehearsal dinner. Every invoice had my name. Every email thread ended with my signature. I used to think it made me dependable. Now I realized it made me the owner. First call, the Fairview House, the venue Amanda sobbed over, the one with the glass conservatory strung with Edison bulbs and a lawn that looked gilded at sunset. The coordinator, a woman named Janelle, picked up on the second ring, bright and efficient. Hi, this is Lindsay Peavy. I need to cancel the Carter Peavy booking for September 29th. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. I spoke like someone who had a right to be heard, because I did. There was a pause for keystrokes. I see your deposit, Ms. Peavy. Contract lists you as the payer of record. Are you sure? I'm sure. Her tone changed. Professional turned protective. Understood. I'll process the cancellation now. You'll get a confirmation email within 10 minutes. If anyone calls to reverse it, we'll require ID and your written consent. Without those, nothing moves. Thank you, Janelle. The email hit my inbox before I set the phone down. Cancellation confirmed. A second later, another email. My deposit receipt pulled from their system like a tooth. I saved it into a subfolder called Pulled Plugs. Second call. Florist. Violet and Vine. The owner remembered me by voice. Lindsay! Peonies in September. Your sister has expensive taste. Not anymore, I said softly. Please cancel the order attached to my card. No problem. I'll stop production and issue a credit note. Just to confirm you're the payer? We had a spirited message last night from an Amanda asking for color changes. Consider everything frozen unless you hear from me. Understood. I hung up and breathed for the first time in 12 hours. Then came the caterer. Trickier. Savoy Kitchens had a policy about cancellations inside 30 days. I opened the PDF. Clause 7. Force majeure. Client cancellation. They could keep a portion, but service would cease if the payer withdrew consent. I was the payer. The manager, Paul, tried the firm approach. We're prepared to serve, Ms. Peavy. Your sister confirmed headcount at 150. Paul, the contract on your screen. Whose card is it? Silence. Papers shuffling. A small sigh. Yours. Then please cancel effective immediately. I'll accept the penalty you're entitled to. Email me the final ledger. It took 10 minutes of polite repetition, but the cancellation went through. Another confirmation. Another file slid into Pulled Plugs. I dialed like that for 2 hours. Invitation calligrapher, hold all envelopes. Car rental for the bridal party, void reservation. Rehearsal dinner tasting, stop. When I got to the dress boutique, my hands trembled. I pictured Amanda grinning in the mirror, pinching silk at her waist, saying, "It's like it was made for me." It wasn't made for her. It was paid for by me. The boutique manager, Elise, sounded hesitant. Ms. Peavy, alterations began last week. Your sister came in for pins. I didn't authorize alterations. The deposit is mine. Please put a hold on the gown until the remaining balance is paid in full. Another pause, then compassion. We'll hold the dress. No release without authorization from the payer of record. I'll note your account. When I hung up, I realized my shoulders had dropped from around my ears. The machine was stopping. Not because I screamed, because I asked for what was mine. At 11:03 a.m., my phone flickered like a slot machine. Texts, notifications, missed calls. The family group chat lit up with pure panic. Amanda, what did you do? Mom, Linda. Lindsay, you're overreacting. Call me now. Dad, George. We can discuss this like adults. Restore the bookings and come to dinner tonight. Dinner. Of course. The PV method of crisis management. A bland protein, a lecture, an apology shaped like a question, and a plate of store-bought pie to signal we're done here. I didn't respond. Silence is a language. They'd taught it to me. I was finally fluent. At 12:22 p.m., another text from Amanda outside the group chat. What did you do? I watched the typing dots appear, disappear, come back frantic. Then, you have 1 hour to fix this, or I'll tell everyone what you did to Ryan. I set the phone face down and laughed into my empty apartment. There it was, the family's favorite tool, accusation as leash. Something vague, something shame-scented, dangled to make me run. Except I wasn't a dog, and there was no leash. There was only a woman at a kitchen table with a stack of receipts and a rising calm. I made lunch. I watered my plants. I did dishes by hand just to hear the clink and rinse, a sound of order. When I checked my phone again, the timeline was a museum of unraveling. 1:07 p.m. Aunt Catherine. Honey, not my business, but are you okay? People are saying wild things. 1:14 p.m. Unknown number. This is Maggie, Ryan's mom. Amanda is devastated. Surely we can find a solution that doesn't ruin her big day. 1:20 p.m. Bridesmaid, Kara. Hey, Queen, I know things got heated, but weddings are stressful. Deep breaths. Can you just reinstate the venue? I'll owe you a favor. I scrolled, not answering. 10 minutes later, an email from Janelle at the Fairview house. FYI, someone called posing as your assistant requesting to reinstate the booking and charge your card on file. We requested ID, they hung up. We have flagged the account. Only you can reverse cancellation. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Posing as my assistant. My family didn't even have the dignity to ask me. They were trying to steal my authorization. I forwarded the email to myself, then to a new folder named Insurance. I wasn't sure yet what I was insuring, but it felt right. At 2:03 p.m., Dad finally abandoned diplomacy for command. Lindsay, enough. You will fix this. You're embarrassing your sister. Not your sister embarrassed herself. Not we made a mistake. Just instruction. I thought of all the times I'd been asked to be the bigger person so they could stay small. I typed a draft, then deleted it. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to explain what a boundary is to people who profit when I forget one. By 3:00 p.m., the caterer emailed their final ledger, a clean cancellation, penalty noted, service halted. I read it twice and saved it. The florist followed with a credit. The calligrapher sent a kind note. I'm sorry for the stress. Your handwriting notes were beautiful. I almost cried over that line. Beautiful. Something I touched that wasn't transactional. I took a walk. Outside, the heat had the kind of shimmer that makes the world look slightly unreal. I passed a bridal shop window. 2 mannequins in veils stood side by side, faceless and patient. I wondered if patience is what people call it when women stop demanding what they're owed. Maybe I had been patient too long. When I got home, the group chat was a wildfire. Mom, the tent company won't confirm for Sunday. They said the city needs a permit? Dad, we'll just do the backyard. How hard can it be to rent chairs? Amanda, Elise at the boutique is being a psycho. She says the dress is held. Fix this now. Mom, Lindsay, we can't do this without you. Then, like slipping a knife between ribs. Dad, offer to pay her back. She'll come around. She always does. I read it twice. She'll come around. She always does. There it was, the thesis of my life. A green iMessage bubble blinked up from Cousin Sarah on the side. FYI, neighbors called the city about a tent going up without a permit. Fire marshal shut it down. Also, the caterer blacklisted Amanda when she tried to use your invoice number. I'm sorry. Then, after a beat, proud of you. I felt a small, embarrassed heat behind my eyes. Not from sadness, recognition. Someone saw me not as a wallet, but as a woman making a choice. At 5:41 p.m., they tried a new angle. Pity. Mom, private text. You don't have to isolate yourself to prove a point, sweetie. You're not married. You don't have children. We get that it's lonely. You can still be part of this. I read the line, you're not married, you don't have children, 3 times. I could hear the subtext like a radio station under static. You owe us because your life is less real. I didn't answer. I would not audition for my own worth. As dusk pooled in the corners of my living room, I stacked the contracts in one neat column and slipped a brass paperclip over them. I thought of Amanda's text, the 5 words that began this: "You're not invited. Goodbye, loser." The part of me that wanted my sister back, real, kind, the version from childhood who split popsicles with me on the curb, rose like a reflex, then faded. That girl didn't send that text. The woman who did knew exactly what she was cutting. At 6:42 p.m., a knock. I ignored it. The peephole glow tugged at me until I looked. Not Amanda this time. Mom. Her lipstick was too bright for her tired face. She rang the bell twice, waited, pressed her palm flat on the door like we might be able to feel each other through wood. My phone buzzed 30 seconds after she left. "Please just talk to us. This can still be fixed." I typed and erased 3 different sentences before I locked my phone and set it face down. There is a particular peace in doing nothing, when doing nothing is the right thing. The wedding was falling apart because it was built on the assumption I would never stop paying. They removed me from the guest list and expected my card to show up anyway. They invited my money and uninvited me. My last notification of the night was a Venmo request from Amanda, $7,800. No words, no why, just a number, like I was a vendor who needed reminding. I declined it. 10 minutes later, another request for the exact amount. Declined. Then I blocked her. The final message of the day slid in at 11:58 p.m., crisp as winter. "Dad, be reasonable." I turned off my lamp. Darkness returned the room to itself. Somewhere across town, my sister stared at a held dress and an empty backyard. Somewhere else, my parents talked about me, like a problem to be solved. And here, in my little apartment, the contracts slept in a stack under a paperclip, waiting for whatever tomorrow would ask me to prove. I had already proved it. The next few days passed like the quiet after a storm, the air heavy, the sky pretending nothing happened, but you could still smell the wreckage underneath. I expected chaos, screaming, a dozen missed calls. Instead, it was silence, a cold, deliberate silence that told me they were regrouping. Then Sunday came, and the narrative began to spread. Aunt Catherine called first. She never even said hello, just sighed into the phone. "Honey, Amanda's telling people you had a breakdown, that you tried to ruin the wedding because you're jealous." Her voice carried the kind of discomfort people have when they don't want to take sides but already have. I could almost see her standing there, twisting the phone cord between her fingers. "Is that true?" she asked. I didn't hesitate. "Yes, I canceled everything. And no, I'm not sorry." There was a pause, the long kind where you can hear someone deciding what version of you they'll believe. Then she whispered, "Well, good for you." Click. Call ended. That's when I knew word was spreading. Faster than wildfire, sharper than gossip. And I didn't care. By Monday morning, Amanda had taken the story public. She posted a photo on Instagram, black and white, no makeup, holding a mug like she was starring in a heartbreak commercial. The caption: "The worst kind of betrayal always comes from the ones closest to you." She didn't tag me. She didn't have to. Everyone knew. The comments poured in. Friends saying, "Stay strong, babe," and "You deserve peace." But I noticed something. The likes were low. Very low. Even Amanda's closest friends didn't seem to know what to believe. Meanwhile, Mom joined the pity parade on Facebook, posting some vague quote about family forgiveness and how some people forget where they came from. And my dad? He sent me a link to a YouTube video titled, "How to Let Go of Grudges Before They Destroy Your Family." No message, no explanation. Just the link. It would have been funny if it weren't so pathetic. By midweek, the stories began to collapse under their own weight. Apparently, Amanda's grand plan B, the backyard wedding, was already in trouble. Cousin Sarah texted me in secret like she was leaking state secrets. They tried to set up a tent without a permit. Neighbors called the city. Fire marshal shut it down. Another message came seconds later. "Also, the caterer blacklisted Amanda after she tried to use your invoice. She actually told them she was you." I stared at my phone, both disgusted and unsurprised. They had kicked me out, erased my name, and yet every single thing they touched still depended on it. It was poetic in a cruel way. That night, my phone buzzed with another unknown number. "Hi, Lindsay. This is Ryan's mom. I know things got tense, but Amanda's heartbroken. Can't you just let her have her day?" I almost laughed. Her day. As if she hadn't taken mine apart piece by piece for years. Tell her to try having it without my money, I said, and hung up. The next day, Dad texted again. Your mother's exhausted from all this. Be reasonable. You can still fix this. He always said that. Be reasonable. Like calmness was the same thing as surrender. Like the only reasonable thing was obedience. By Thursday, the illusion finally cracked. Amanda's fiancé, Ryan, was starting to see the truth. Sarah texted again, her words spilling fast. Ryan told one of the groomsmen he's thinking about calling it off. Said, if this is what marrying her family looks like, maybe I need to rethink things. I blinked at the screen. Ryan, quiet, agreeable Ryan, was finally realizing he'd signed up for a circus run by my mother and sister. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to relief. Not joy, not satisfaction, just clarity. That evening, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened the family group chat. I hadn't left it. They just assumed I had. The messages were chaos. Mom, we can't do this without her. Amanda, so what? We just beg her? Dad, offer to pay her back. She'll come around. Mom, we'll tell her we've learned our lesson. Dad, just do whatever it takes. She always comes around. That line, she always comes around, stopped me cold, like a stone in my throat. Because it was true. For 31 years, I did come around. When Mom forgot to pay the electricity bill, I paid it. When Amanda's car broke down, I covered the repairs. When Dad's business hit a slow month, I quietly transferred funds. They knew my compassion better than I did. They used it like an ATM pin. Not this time. A few hours later, I got a new Venmo request. $7,800 again. No message. Then, 10 minutes later, another one. Then a text from Amanda. I know you're mad, but you've made your point. We're already locked into things. Please don't destroy my future just to get revenge. That last line made my chest go cold. Destroy her future. As if her cruelty, her lies, and her entitlement weren't the real wrecking ball. I didn't reply. I didn't even decline the request this time. I just blocked her again. That night, the silence hit different. It wasn't angry anymore. It was hollow. I realized something I'd never said out loud before, maybe not even to myself. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. And the reason it felt so foreign was because I'd never actually had it. My family had built an entire system on me being the dependable one, the good daughter, the fixer, the wallet. They mistook obedience for love. They mistook boundaries for betrayal. And now, watching their chaos from afar, I finally understood. They weren't losing me. They were losing access. The next morning, I woke up to one new text from Mom. Please, Lindsay, just call me. This isn't how family should work. I didn't answer, because for the first time, I realized she was right. Family shouldn't work this way. And maybe the only way to fix that was to let the old version burn to the ground. The wedding was 3 days away. No venue, no florist, no caterer, no dress. They'd built their castle on my name, and the second I walked away, it crumbled into dust. And yet somehow I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel vindicated. Just free. It was supposed to be the night of the rehearsal dinner. Instead, my apartment was silent, except for the hum of the fridge and the faint sound of traffic outside. I was sitting on my couch, legs tucked under a blanket, watching a show I wasn't really watching when the first knock came. I ignored it. Then another. Then the sound of someone whispering my name through the door. Lindsay, please. It was Amanda. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it, that my brain had conjured her voice from memory just to torture me. But when I peered through the peephole, there she was, mascara smudged, hair pulled back, still wearing that cream-colored jacket she'd posted online a week ago with the caption, Final Fitting Day. Except now, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. She was holding a grocery bag, the kind that had been used too many times. Her hands shook as she pressed it toward the door. Please, just open it. I can't go back home right now. Against every ounce of logic, I opened the door halfway. The hallway light poured in, washing her face in a dull yellow glow. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Her eyes darted around my apartment like she was trying to memorize it, maybe to remind herself what peace looked like. Then she lifted the bag slightly. These are the receipts, the contracts. I just found out. I frowned. Found out what? That Mom lied. She told me you offered to cover everything because you were lonely, that you said paying for it made you feel included. I didn't move. I just stared at her. Her voice cracked. I swear, Lindsay, I didn't know. I thought you wanted to do it. I didn't know I didn't know. I wanted to believe her. God, a part of me still did. The little sister who used to braid her hair and steal her sweaters was clawing at my chest, whispering, "Just hug her, make it right." But then I remembered every text, every smirk, every time she'd let Mom humiliate me while she stayed silent. So instead, I stepped aside and gestured to the couch. She sat down, the bag clutched in her lap, like it might protect her. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the ticking of the clock and her uneven breathing. Then my phone buzzed, an email notification. I glanced at the screen and froze. It was from the Fairview house, the venue. Subject line, fraudulent activity notice, attempted card charge. The message was short but devastatingly clear. "Hi, Lindsay. Just a heads up. Someone called earlier pretending to be your assistant, requesting to reinstate the booking and charge your card again. When we asked for verification, they hung up. We've flagged the account for fraud." I didn't even need to ask who. Amanda saw the email reflected in my glasses. Her lips parted as she whispered, "She really did that, didn't she?" I nodded slowly. The reality must have hit her then, that our mother had tried to commit credit card fraud just to salvage an illusion of control. That the woman she still defended had just crossed a legal line. Amanda's shoulders slumped. I don't even know who I'm mad at anymore. I almost said, "Now you know how I've felt for years." But I didn't. There was no satisfaction left in me. Instead, I said quietly, "You should go." She hesitated. "Do you hate me?" I looked at her, tired. "No, I just stopped trying to make you see me." Her eyes filled with tears again, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't look angry. She looked small. She stood wiping her face, then placed the bag of receipts on my coffee table like an offering. "I'll make this right," she whispered, though she didn't sound sure. Then she walked out. When the door clicked shut, I sank back onto the couch and stared at the bag. It was full of my handwriting. Notes, contracts, payment slips, a paper trail of how I'd been used. And for once, I didn't feel rage, just relief. The truth had finally crossed the threshold, literally. That night, at 2:07 a.m., my phone buzzed again. It was Mom. "You'll regret what you started." No greeting, no explanation, just that one sentence, sharp enough to slice through the dark. I stared at it for a long time, then turned off my phone. And for the first time in years, I slept like a person who owed no one anything. The next day, Sarah called, whispering like she was afraid the phone was bugged. Ryan left. He packed up and went to stay with a friend. Said he's done with the drama. I closed my eyes. I am not surprised. Amanda's losing it. The guests are canceling. The cake order was never confirmed because the deposit got pulled, and the dress boutique won't release her gown until the balance is paid. There was a long pause. "She keeps saying she'll fix it," Sarah added softly, "but no one believes her anymore." When I hung up, I poured myself a cup of coffee and stared out the window. Somewhere across town, my sister was facing the fallout of her own choices, and for once, it wasn't my job to save her. That evening, there was another knock at my door. I didn't even need to look this time. I opened it, and there stood Mom. Composed, polished, dangerous. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stepped aside, but only halfway. "About what? The fraud? The manipulation? The 30 years of emotional debt you've been collecting?" Her jaw tightened. "You've always been dramatic." "Maybe, but I've also always been the one who paid for your mistakes." Her eyes flickered. "We're family, Lindsay. Families help each other. Families don't lie to one daughter to manipulate the other." Her voice dropped, cold and steady. "If you think this makes you strong, you're mistaken. You've turned your back on your blood. That never ends well." Then she left. No apology, no remorse, just her perfume lingering in the doorway, heavy and suffocating. I shut the door and locked it, twice. Later that night, I opened Amanda's grocery bag again. I flipped through each receipt, each email confirmation. I'd written notes on many of them. Small scribbles like "paid in full" or "confirmed date with Janelle." Every slip of paper was a reminder that I wasn't crazy. I wasn't unstable. I was organized, responsible, and completely taken advantage of. At the very bottom of the stack was a note written in my mother's handwriting, likely left behind by mistake. It was scrawled across a torn piece of stationery from their kitchen. "If she refuses, tell her she'll regret it. She always folds when she feels guilty." I read it twice, then I smiled, not out of happiness, but clarity. They'd spent my whole life betting on my guilt, and for once, they'd lost. The next morning, I made a list. Not a to-do list, a don't-do list. Don't reply to manipulation disguised as apology. Don't rescue adults from their own decisions. Don't explain peace to people who profit from chaos. It was the first list in my life that made me feel free. 2 days after the canceled wedding date, I woke up to a single vibrating message. Amanda, no emojis, no attitude this time, just Ryan's gone. The guests canceled. The bakery threw out the cake because no one paid the balance. I just need help, Lindsay. Please, I'll pay you back. For a few seconds, I stared at it in silence. I didn't feel anger anymore, just a quiet, deep exhaustion. When I finally replied, my words were simple. If you need a loan, we'll make it official. She responded instantly. Whatever you want, just please help me. By afternoon, we were sitting across from each other in a small diner. It was nearly empty, except for the hum of the coffee machine and a man reading a newspaper in the corner. Amanda looked like a ghost of herself, hair tied back, eyes swollen, her manicure chipped. The same sister who once bragged about soft girl aesthetics now stirred her black coffee without touching it. I slid a folder across the table, a formal loan agreement, printed and notarized. Every word deliberate. Loan amount, $20,600. Monthly payment, $216. Interest, 5%. Late fee, $30. Term, 12 months. Amanda blinked, stunned. You're serious? I met her eyes, completely. She flipped through the pages, her hand trembling slightly. For once, she didn't argue, didn't roll her eyes, didn't call me dramatic. She just took the pen and signed her name. Every single page. When she finished, she slid the folder back toward me without a word. That silence, her silence, was louder than any apology she could have given. The next morning, I got a notification. First payment received, $216. It was small, but symbolic. For the first time in our lives, Amanda was giving something back. A week later, my parents sent out invitations, post-wedding celebration dinner. No mention of me, of course. But 3 days later, an envelope arrived at my door with my name written in my mother's handwriting. Inside, a cream-colored invitation and a note. It's time to let things go. Please come. Family should stick together. Family, the same word they'd used as a weapon for years. I folded the note neatly and tucked it back inside the envelope. Then I sent my reply. No, thank you. I'm busy that evening. But I did send a gift, a silver-wrapped frame. Inside, behind a glass panel, was a copy of the venue deposit receipt, with Amanda's signed loan agreement taped behind it. A silent reminder of how everything really happened. That night, my phone exploded with messages. Sarah, OMG, the frame. Everyone saw it. Aunt Catherine, you didn't have to, but wow. Poetic. Ryan's brother. Respect. Even people I hadn't spoken to in years started following me on social media again. I didn't post about it, didn't comment, but I saw the ripple effect. At the dinner, Amanda reportedly turned pale when she opened my gift. Mom tried to play it off, saying, "It's just a misunderstanding." But the room had gone quiet. Everyone knew now. Who paid for the wedding, who canceled it, who was used, and who finally stopped being the fool. Over the next few months, Amanda made every payment on time, never missed one. Never texted me again, except for a short note each month that simply said, paid. No apology, no explanation, just quiet acknowledgement. By the 4th payment, Mom stopped calling. By the 7th, Dad sent a Christmas card that said, "Hope you're doing well." No guilt, no demands, just distance. And honestly, that was all I ever wanted. It's strange. Peace doesn't arrive with fireworks. It just appears one morning. You wake up, the sun hits your window a little softer, and you realize you haven't clenched your jaw in days. That's how it felt the day Amanda made her final payment. The notification came in at 9:12 a.m. I stared at the number, $2,600, paid in full, and just like that, it was over. No confetti, no reconciliation montage, just quiet closure. I still keep the receipts in a small box at the back of my closet, not out of bitterness, but as proof that silence can be stronger than shouting. That boundaries once drawn can save your life. People in my family call me cold now. Maybe they're right. But I've learned that cold is what happens when the fire finally burns out, when there's nothing left to destroy. And honestly, I prefer the cold. It's peaceful, predictable, mine. Amanda's last Venmo payment cleared on a Friday. That night, she texted, "It's done. Thank you, I guess." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Final line. They thought cutting me out would break me. But all it did was remind me where the real power always was, in my name, on every receipt, and in the silence I chose instead of begging. 16 months later, the money is gone. But the memory remains, permanent, like ink that never fades. And so does the peace.